This one's super important because it drives a lot of revenue for your store. The abandoned checkout is when you have someone's email on your list, they're viewing a product, they add it to cart, and then they're mid-checkout, so they've started checkout, and then they abandon. So they're so close to actually checking out, but for whatever reason they didn't. Maybe they got busy, maybe they got distracted. So these emails are for people that are right there. Again, you just need the extra push to get them to convert. This one by default, if you're using something like Klaviyo, is already set up. So this one should be really easy to get started on. And this is also one of the ones I recommend, as mentioned before, that you have to do once you get your storefront live or if you haven't already. So again, it was the welcome, the abandoned checkout, and the customer thank you. Klaviyo actually has a report on the abandoned checkout in particular. So they analyzed over 3,000 stores that are using their platform, and they noticed that there was $60 million in revenue driven over a 3-month period from the abandoned checkout flows alone. Because the abandoned checkout emails are time sensitive and highly targeted, they tend to drive about 3 times the amount of revenue as do other automated flows. With the abandoned checkout flow, I recommend sending between 2 to 4 emails, and we'll kind of go into what that looks like. And before we dive in, the results that you're going to see typically range from about 2 to 6% in terms of the conversion rate, so you should be able to drive a good amount of revenue here. On my screen right now, you'll be able to see kind of the first screenshot of a real customer's kind of revenue at a high level. And again, the trigger here will now be checkout started. So for the browse abandonment, it was viewed product. For the abandoned cart, it was added to cart. And now the last one, the one that we're going through now, abandoned checkout, will always have checkout started. And here you can see, some pretty solid revenues being driven. So email 1, that's being triggered after an hour and a half of someone abandoning their checkout, drives about 4.3% conversion rate, which is equivalent to about $4,000 in revenue. So this is really a powerful email flow because that's only the first email. As you can see from emails 2 and 3, the second email also drives about $2,000 in revenue, and the third email drives a little bit shy of $1,000. So just right here and there, this client's doing about $6,000 to $7,000 in revenue a month from the abandoned checkout. On my screen also as well right now is another client, and you can kind of see the revenue here is as a percentage even higher. So on the first email, they have a 9.4% place order rate, which is huge. So almost 10% of the people that receive this email actually purchase, which is crazy. So the first email is driven about $830 in revenue. The second email is driven about $300 in revenue. The third email is driven about $200 in revenue. And then the last email is also driven about $200 in revenue. And you can see the range of kind of the conversion rate from the very bottom, and the worst converting one is 3%, all the way up to about 10%. So the conversion rates here are going to be pretty crazy. Here's the first email, and again, here's kind of the behind the scenes look of what it will look like to you when you set it up. And then I'll also show you this version, which is how the client and customer will actually see it. So again, the block itself and then the product recommendations themselves are kind of blank, but once they go into action, the customer will see it like this. So this particular customer was looking at these 2 pieces of swimwear, and then we recommended 3 at the bottom. So again, for all the abandonments, they all follow the same structure of the content someone was looking at, the pricing, the option to check out, those types of things, just where they take people, where they link people, and the content themselves are a little bit different. So again, here we're leveraging a discount of about 10%, which is pretty common, and we're driving a good amount of revenue. And kind of quickly just scrolling through, don't want to spend too much time talking about each email as they're all the same, but this is the email for 2. Make sure you want to leave this behind. This is for 3, reminding people that, hey, we gave you a 24-hour heads up in the last email. You have 2 hours left. Make sure you check out. You don't want to miss out. And then the last one is, hey, we're extending this for you. For whatever reason you missed the last couple warnings, here's the absolute last chance. Here's 24 more hours. That's around the discount codes being used. So we're telling the customers that they only have a certain amount of time to try to create that scarcity and kind of that urgency around, hey, I have to do this now. So this is all for the discount codes. The items themselves most likely will still be in stock then. It's just people have to use the discount code in a certain window of time. Going into kind of some A/B testing for this particular flow, and this also will apply for many of the other automated flows, whether they're the browse abandonment or the abandoned cart and so on. So again, I mentioned this earlier, but make sure you test the pre-header text. I always do recommend testing one variable at a time though. So if you're going to be testing subject lines, just start testing subject lines. Once you've completed the subject line test and you have your winner, then move on to the pre-header text. So the pre-header text, as mentioned previously, is a really great thing to test. Feel free to get creative in your subject line tests, but one that I've always seen work really, really well that you can at least get started with is it looks like you left something behind. That's been a really common and popular subject line that's gotten really good open rates for all my clients. Another thing that's worth testing is different offers. So by far, the most popular that people seem to do is a percentage off. So 10%, 15%, 20% off seem to be the most popular things, but dollars off and free shipping are also great incentives to test. Running through some of Klaviyo's data on thousands of stores, even though it's the most popular to do a percentage off actually was the lowest performer in terms of both open rate and then the revenue per recipient, which might be surprising. The highest performing incentive was actually $1 off. So try testing $1 off discount instead of just always using the percentage off. According to Shopify, doing a dollar-based discount versus a percentage-based discount can help increase your conversion by 175%, which is a huge number. With some businesses, it might do better. Other businesses, it might do about the same. And other businesses might do worse. But you have to test to figure out what works best for you. And then lastly, one other thing to test is the free shipping. So most people actually abandon carts due to free shipping not being included. So hitting people with free shipping and the abandoned cart or the abandoned checkout is a great place to get them to purchase. As you saw in some of the examples, we always mention that the discount code's expired. With some clients, that's actually true, and with other clients, it's not true. Just by mentioning that in the email, we saw conversion rates increase. So again, if you want to leave a discount code open for a while, but you want to create that scarcity and kind of that urgency behind it, make sure you mention that discount codes do expire. And when people try them today or if they try them next week, they're still going to work, which will allow you to drive revenue. One thing I talk about a lot with clients that people are always pretty wary of giving out discount codes. Brand owners always kind of want to maintain the integrity of their brand. So they're always wary of giving out discount codes. From everything I've personally seen, discount codes really do help move the needle. Abandoned cart emails that include coupon codes actually have an above average open rate as well as click-through rate. So if it's on brand to test it, at the very least test doing a discount code. And if you are strict against doing them, obviously then don't. You might want to give a different discount code for a browse abandonment than for an abandoned cart or abandoned checkout, depending on how aggressively you want to push people down the funnel. In the browse abandonment, if you really want to drive a purchase, maybe you give a higher discount than in the abandoned cart or the abandoned checkout, knowing that those people are close to purchasing. They might just need a little bit of something to convert. So again, make sure you test all of these. The strategies do change, but I'm confident that you'll be able to start executing on this today. In addition to some of the subject line tests and those types of tests I mentioned, there's a couple other A/B tests that you should be running. And typically you need about 500 to 1,000 people going through your tests to have some kind of significance. Ideally, 1,000 plus, but you can start as low as about 500 people going through each of your versions. So that way you have some data around how they're performing. So other things to test other than just the subject line or the offers are things like the call to action. So the wording of the call to actions, the button colors, those help move the needle. The images within the content itself help move the needle. The send time of the email helps move the needle, right? Whether it's 9 a.m. PST or 9 a.m. EST. So tests around the send time really does help. The email layout actually helps. So try creating a couple different template options and start testing ones. One might be shorter, one might be kind of middle range, and one might be really long. You might be surprised that with some of your audience, the middle or longer one might convert better, whereas with other brands, shorter and to the point converts better. A couple examples ago, I showed you the conditional split, which basically allows you to split traffic as a percentage. So you can basically do an A/B test on 50% of the traffic towards one way, 50% of the traffic towards another way. And I always recommend testing the time delay. So for some clients, 2-hour time delay for abandoned checkout works better than 4 hours. And then for others, the inverse is true. 4 hours tends to work better than 2 hours. So it's always great to test subject lines as well as the time delays and all the other things I mentioned to make sure you're optimizing performance. So if you don't already have an abandoned checkout email, go start creating one right now. Again, it's going to drive a ton of revenue for you, so don't miss out on that one. And if you do currently have an abandoned checkout email, use some of the tips I mentioned above, whether it's the subject line testing or the offer testing, to see what you could do to drive more revenue from what you're already doing.
The Foundr mission is to help you create an ass-kicking business and help you learn straight from the mouths of world-class founders. Get your free printed edition of Foundr magazine featuring Sir Richard Branson. Just cover shipping and handling at foundr.com/Branson.